Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Normal Challenge workshop. Is my idea a good idea? My name is Blake Sims St. Louis. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm the program director for social innovation. We are so excited to have you with us today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my screen and give you an overview of how today's workshop is going to run. And then we've got a great panel of students who are here to give you advice and feedback on how to really validate and understand if you are working on a good idea. That will help us transition back to school, whether in person or virtually. Again, the kickoff happened earlier this week on July 28th, and the deadline for applications is August 15th. You can find a lot of information on our website, bit.ly/BU New Normal. For those of you who are new to the Remo platform, this is a really exciting platform for us to use because it allows our attendees to network and move themselves. So here you can see kind of an overview of the platform, what your dashboard should look like. And this is also something that this visual is included in the event guide that's been linked in the chat box. So you can see we've got a couple of floors. There is a help bot in the bottom left-hand corner. So if you have any tech issues and you need to connect directly with a Remo representative.
Looks like Blake's frozen, but yeah, so you can use that chat box to get any issues fixed, but also I've been on this platform for quite a while, so you can also ask me.
Am I back?
Oh, you're back.
Oh, tech issues. Okay, so over again. So I was just sharing the layout of Remo, and that's available in our event guide as well. Here is the high-level overview of today's agenda. We'll be doing a quick overview of today's workshop and the challenge. Then the bulk of today's session will be a workshop with panelists and breakout sessions for you to connect with peers. And then we'll end with a wrap-up. If you have questions throughout the event, feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll answer them throughout the event. The New Normal Challenge is a collaborative effort between Innovate BU, BU University Student Government, the Dean of Students Office, and BU UMOJA. And hopefully you'll meet Stephanie, David, and Kat, who represent those two student organizations today that are here at the event. As I said at the beginning, the New Normal Challenge was designed to provide an opportunity for students to be heard and included in the process of coming back and transitioning back to campus this fall. We know administrators, faculty, and staff have been thinking about this transition for months, ever since we needed to close campus in March. And we feel like this is a great opportunity for student ideas to be shared. We're looking for your ideas about how to foster community, connectivity, and well-being, and to help us re-envision life on campus, off campus, and virtually. So we know students will be all over the world this semester, and how do we engage everyone in these opportunities? And what's most important to Innovate at BU is that last bullet. Through this work, we know you're going to be developing innovation skills and an entrepreneurial mindset, the belief that you can build ideas that have real impact in our community. There are two tracks to the New Normal Challenge. The first is called the Crc Ideas Track. It's where you submit a recommendation to the Dean of Students Office, something that the university could consider implementing. This track is open to any undergraduate student. And again, those submissions will be reviewed on a rolling basis by the Dean of Students Office. Track 2 is called the Student Impact Track. This is for an idea that you and a team, hopefully a team, we love when people are working on diverse teams, you design, develop, and would like to try and implement this fall. This is open to all BU students, undergrad and graduate. Your submissions will be reviewed by a panel of BU faculty, staff, and students. And the top ideas using our rubric that Rachel, you'll meet in just a moment, will review during today's session. We'll identify up to 10 winners who will receive a $500 seed grant to help get that idea off the ground. Both of these tracks close at midnight on Saturday, August 15th. So make sure to get your submissions in by then. There are certain categories that students can submit ideas to. All ideas must adhere to federal, state, and BU health and safety guidelines. We've got a dozen or so categories, including an other, if yours isn't there. And we do have a few ineligible topics, including testing adherence, learn from anywhere, and housing and the move-in process. All of these details and resources to help you connect with people and departments across the campus are all available on our website. So check it out if you haven't yet. We'd also recommend updating your challenge profile. This will help you form connections today and at future REMO events. And so here you can see a step-by-step directions. This is also in the event guide that's linked in the chat. So if you hover over your icon in the upper right-hand corner, you should see My Profile pop up, and then you can edit your profile. Go ahead and take some time now to do this if you haven't already. I'll continue walking through what we'd like you to include in your profile. So for your name, please add your pronouns. For your headline, we encourage you to think about indicating which category you're most interested in. This will help you when you hover over other people's profiles, see at a quick glance if they're interested in a similar topic to you. For the company, we recommend if you've already got an idea you're working on, put a couple of words that describe that idea so someone could get a quick understanding of it. Or if you don't have an idea yet and you're looking for a team, put, I'm looking for a team. And then for job title, we'd love you to include your BU affiliation and your graduation year. And once you've done all those steps, make sure to click Save Changes so that your profile is saved and updated. If I went through that too fast for you, as a reminder again, all of these directions and everything about today's event can be found in the event guide. At this time, I'm going to invite my dear friend and colleague, Rachel Speckman, to join me on the stage. Rachel is the Program Director of Business Ventures for the Build Lab and Innovate BU. And a fun fact is if Rachel were picking one of these topics, my guess would be either arts or waste reduction. Just some hypotheses based on what I know about Rachel's interests.
Thank you, Blake. I really appreciate that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now as we get everything started. Can you see my screen?
Looks great, Rachel.
Great.
I forgot to mention, sorry, Rachel, 1 second. I forgot to mention that if you'd like to see Rachel's or any of our presentation slides in full screen, you can click on the little arrows in the upper right-hand corner to blow that up larger. These slides will also be shared with all attendees after the event, and the slides and the videos from presentations will be posted on the website as well a day or two after the event. So this information will all be available to you post-workshop. All right, Rachel, take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Blake. And I wrote all categories in my profile because so many of these topics are interesting to me, but I do have a passion for waste reduction, exercise, and many other things. And I look forward to hearing more about your ideas today. So again, my name is Rachel. I'm the Director of Business Ventures, and we're going to be talking about how do you know if you have a good idea. Here's a brief breakdown of what today is going to look like. You're actually going to hear from 3 students who are working on different ideas at BU. And we're going to understand more about how they vetted their ideas, how they tested what they're working on. Then we're actually going to break and have everyone head to different floors, whether you have an idea or don't. We have some prompts for you to move your ideas forward. And then we're going to do a share out with one another at a separate breakout table. And then we're going to wrap it up. So I like to always start workshops and anything I'm doing with what are the goals. So our goals for today are that you will learn, at least learn the basic building blocks of how to vet, test, and improve on ideas, and really how to assess if what you're working on is desirable, if people want it, if it's equitable and fair, if it's feasible, if it's actually technically doable, and viable, if it's financially doable. You're also going to walk away with 2 key strategies as you start to work on or advance your new normal applications. So the first is talking to people. More people, people who are closer to what you're working on, and we call that interviews, customer or user interviews. And then look at what already exists at BU, other campuses, and out and about in the community. And we call that research. So again, these are our goals for today, and we're going to be pulling on all of these as you hear from the speakers and do your own work. As we step into the panelist presentation, I want to review the rubric. So everything at Innovate BU is done with a rubric in mind, or most things I should say. And that is all, we're very public about the rubrics. We're public about sharing the score. And the idea is that we want you to understand where you are hitting the mark, where you might be missing the mark, and where there's room for improvement. So these are the categories and the specific aspects for the rubric for the new normal challenge. So it's about the innovative idea. Does it address a challenge? Is it desirable and equitable? You'll see this mimics some of the goals. It has impact, it is viable, and there are clear next steps. So if you're ever stuck on your application, pull out what you're working on and pull out the rubric and see if these two, where there might be overlap, and this might help you address where you might need more information. And again, our staff is here to help you with this, and as are the panelists today. So I'm very excited to bring on the stage, the virtual stage, our panelists. So Stephanie, David, and Libby, if I can have you join, that would be great. Oh, here they come. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm really excited to have you. So I'm actually going to have you each introduce yourself, what you'll be talking about today, and your favorite part of BU. And I'll start with David.
Sure thing. So hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is David Joseph. I'm a rising junior here at BU, currently studying economics with a minor in entrepreneurship and a minor in as well. So just a few things about me. Overall, like I'm involved in student government here, and that's mainly like the viewpoint I'll be giving you as well. I have a lot of different experiences as well just throughout BU from different parts of campus, so hopefully that can like help you in different forms. And my favorite part of campus, I would have to say the 6th floor of 100 Bay State Road, because anytime I go there to study, or when it's not like busy, you can go there, find a like small table right that's facing out towards the city, and it's a beautiful view.
Great. It's a little hard to hear you, David. It might be me. So I just wanted to give you a heads up for that. Is it hard to hear him? Stephanie and Libby? No, maybe it's me. Great. David, we're very happy to have you. And thank you for sharing your favorite part and place at BU. I'm going to turn over to Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I am a senior in CAS. I'm a poli-sci major, and I also have taken up the Innovation Entrepreneurship minor for my senior year. I have participated in a lot of Build Lab events. I was actually in Rachel's Innovation Pathway co-curricular my sophomore year. And I won't be talking about what I worked on that project. I'm going to be talking about mostly UMOJA. That's mostly because I have to stay consistent. So that's one advice I'm going to say is to stay consistent. But my favorite place on BU's campus is the Howard Thurman Center, the HGC. I feel like most people know that about me. It's where I got my first job. It's where I met a lot of my friends. It's how I got involved in everything that I think that I'm involved in. So it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, Libby.
Hi, I'm Libby. I'm a sophomore in the College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in biology and minoring in public health. And I was part of the First Year Innovation Fellowship, which is a specific program at Innovate at BU, as well as I am now an Innovate at BU Summer Ambassador. So working with orientation as well as on challenges like these. So I'll be talking about my venture, Sea Green Co., which I started through the First Year Innovation Fellowship and am now on the Innovation Pathway. And my favorite spot on campus is probably the 9th floor of Killashon, especially at night when you can see the lights of the city. It's absolutely beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And throughout the presentation, I just want to remind people, so these three students are very involved in the Build Lab. They've mentioned a few things: the innovation pathway, the minor, the first year innovation fellowship. If those terms are all new to you, we encourage you to stop by the Innovate BU table at any point of this, and we'd be happy to talk about those resources and how you might get involved. So I just kind of wanted to remind you of that. So now we're actually going to step into the panel itself. And each of these students was selected not just because they're involved in the Build Lab, but because they're actually working on something consistently and dedicatedly on campus. And I want them to talk about how they actually work on their projects and their ventures. And a project and a venture are terms that we use quite a bit in the Build Lab. So students here might be involved in student government or an organization, or might be involved in actually a venture, a business that is hoping to make money or not make money as a nonprofit. So keep that in mind. We're talking about a range of things that students will be working on, and David, Stephanie, and Libby will be talking about their particular focus areas. So I'm going to start off with Stephanie. When you are thinking about UMOJA, can you tell us a little bit about what UMOJA is and what problem UMOJA is addressing?
Yeah, so UMOJA is BU's Black Student Union. And our mission is to promote the Black culture amongst campus and to bring students together. And so an essential question that I have to ask myself is, how can we best engage with our community? What are the resources that we need? And so we realized that one of the things was that a lot of students felt like there weren't resources available to them. They didn't know what those resources are. Entering campus can be kind of jarring for some students. So our focus is, how do we engage with the community? How do we coordinate with the other Black student organizations and build and foster that strong connection amongst all of the Black students? And how do we connect with the local Black community in Boston as well?
So it sounds to me, Stephanie, like the problem you're addressing is connectivity and making people feel more engaged and connected to one another.
Exactly.
David, can you talk about student government? I know you just had a successful campaign. Can you talk a bit about what problem you plan to focus on, and how you kind of realize that that's a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the whole entire year, and when we started planning for student government, what the original intent was, and what it still is, and what we want it to continue to be, is to have a student body that knows and cares about what student government does and the resources that they can avail. Because throughout the years and throughout like what I've heard in the past as well, like student government's always been there, but it hasn't been either everyone's go-to like position, or it hasn't been like a big enough thing on campus to kind of warrant the change that it wants to make. And our goal is just to get, one is to get people involved in student government, and two is to get every single student on campus aware and knowledgeable about what student government can do and will do for them. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's only like kids who want to go into politics or do that in their life. And I have no desire to do that. But I just see it as a means to truly make a change on this campus for each and every student. And this is just a great way to do that.
Okay, great. And can you remind us of your role in student government next year?
Oh, yeah. So I am vice president of Boston University Student Government.
Okay, you're talking to the vice president. We're talking to some really important people here. Everyone on the call is important.
Stephanie's president.
So it sounds like the problem that you're addressing or have been addressing as you put your campaign together is making BU students feel really connected to their own campus in ways that maybe traditionally haven't been done before.
Absolutely.
What about you, Libby? Can you tell us, you're a little bit different. What is Sea Green Co? What's its mission, and what problem did you start with solving?
Yeah, of course. So Sea Green Co. is a zero waste campus store aimed at helping make college students more sustainable in their daily lives. The problem we're solving is that like zero waste products and low waste products aren't easily accessible to college students, whether that's because they're expensive, which they really are, or if it's just not physically located near them. Like the Whole Foods is kind of off campus, Cambridge Naturals is pretty far. So these places where you can find sustainable options tend to be a little harder to get to. And the one like online option, then you have to deal with packaging and shipping. So kind of like that combination of like, we don't have access to those sustainable resources. So we aimed to not only bring products to campus, but also kind of help educate people, because it's also zero waste is kind of like a new thing and it might seem really hard. So we want to show students how they can kind of incorporate zero waste into their lifestyle.
Awesome, thank you. So each of you, have a focus area, whether it's a club, government, a venture, and it sounds like you all started with, here's a problem that needs to be solved. I'm going to start with you, Libby. How did you start to actually chip away at that problem? Like, how did you vet or test that, yes, waste and greenery issues and the travel issues are actually a problem for people? How did you test that on the BU campus?
Yeah, so we actually started having pop-up sales in the GSU, at the IDEA conference, in the Build Lab, where basically we would just sell certain products, like, for example, a compostable toothbrush or wheat plastic utensils, or reusable Ziploc bags. And then we would talk to students, see what kinds of products they were interested in buying. We sent out a survey that asked basically like, what products do you want to see, as well as would you pay a little bit more for a more sustainable option, and kind of just gauging the community response to our general idea, and see kind of, oh, do people actually want this? In addition, we did a lot of research on like what was already available. But yeah, no, definitely talking to people really, really helped to. Do they actually want to become involved with us? And do they care? Do they want to buy our products?
Thank you. I think you just mentioned the $1 million question. Sometimes I relate starting something. Think about if you were starting a restaurant, you'd probably want to do the head count of people who go by every day, the average spend in that area. Are there other stores that are similar to that? Restaurants that might sell something similar. So it sounds like you were doing that with your products. You weren't just like, yes, we're going to open a big store with a lot of overhead in the middle of campus. You actually kind of partnered with people, it sounds like, and said, let's just do a test of 10 products or a test of 50 products. And it sounds like you were also really talking to people about the products, not just, do you want this, but how much would you be willing to pay? Would you go out of your way for it? Am I right in kind of assuming that those were some of the things that you did?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. David, can you talk a bit about how you kind of vetted your strategy was going well as you were running for student government? I remember like many whiteboard sessions with you and Oliver, student body president, kind of testing out different Instagram campaigns and all kinds of things. So can you talk about that process?
Yeah, completely. So first I want to say, I think a lot of people think, or oftentimes what we had to realize within ourselves is once we had an idea, we wanted to like originally take off and be like, this is it, like, let's go. This is like 100% we need to do it. And we really had to, take 10 steps backwards and be like, hold up, let's break this down part by part, piece by piece, and like know that it's okay to take time, because like we luckily like we planned like in advance and we had the time ready for it. But if you're starting a business, if you're starting a venture, if you're starting whatever, don't think that it's like, oh, I have to get this done in a month, or I have to get this done in 2 weeks, or like, if it takes time to get the process done, like that's completely fine. Take the time to like make the process thorough, because when it's thorough, it's successful. And I think that's kind of what we gained through that. What we did was a lot of planning, whether it was because as the semester changed, given COVID, given everything, and whether we were in person, online, our campaign changed completely. So there was often sessions of first coming up with ideas and then adapting those ideas, and then maybe scrapping some of those ideas because of what the semester was going the way, and everything changed. So I think for us, it was kind of being cognizant of like having like that fluidness is okay, but just being thorough in each and every point throughout that is like what led to the success.
So it sounds to me, thank you, David, like you had a plan, you had it whiteboarded, you had here's what we're going to do, like all of us, and then COVID happened and things came up in the semester, whether it was COVID or not, and said, how can we react to this? And I know I saw the two of you, for example, kind of testing different, whether it was Instagram messages or kind of slogans, right? So it wasn't like we have the answer and this is it. It was really being receptive to feedback and need.
And a lot of it is feedback. A lot of it is, we'll put something out there and people say, oh, did you know like SHS offers something kind of similar? And we're like, we had no clue. So we look into SHS, we see what they do currently, we see what they don't do. We're like, oh, now we have like this more niche avenue that we can like tailor our resources to. So, you know, it's never a bad thing finding out what people provide, because I think for us, it just like showed us where the gaps were and how we could fill them properly.
Great, thank you so much. So I think that's a great segue, because we've talked about testing things, customer interviews, trying different messages. Stephanie, I'm curious for you, how do you make sure that UMOJA doesn't have duplication with other organizations on campus or locally?
Yeah, so we did like a similar thing, I think, to what student government did. And we really just looked at what the other organizations were doing. And then we talked to them. We just sat down and had conversations with them. And previously, before I was president, you know, years before, there was like this calendar created for all the organizations to put like their events and different things. So we noticed that a lot of people are doing similar things, and UMOJA is doing similar things to these other orgs. And so what we decided to do was to change our constitution, change our operating model, and become an umbrella organization to all the Black organizations, and serve as a liaison between the administration and other Black student organizations, and to be the hub of resources for the Black student population, because we noticed that there wasn't really a central place for people, and there wasn't a connector for all of these organizations. So we imagine ourselves like, if you were a visual thinker, there's a circle in the middle, and all these other organizations are connected to it. As student government is connected to it, the BU administration is connected to it as well. And for us, there was all the other issues as well. For every issue that we have a solution. So if there's an issue with engaging with students, what programs do people like to attend? We look at our event attendance, we look at our social media, what do they engage with the most? We expanded our team, because we asked our team, like, what are the problems with your, like, what have the problems been in your role? How can we do better? And they're like, we just need more people. I can't do everything if I'm running around on campus focused on a bunch of different things. So yeah, we do the same like gap analysis, and really ask people like what is needed, and use that as our model.
Great, thank you. That is so helpful to hear. I mean, I think as people are starting to work on their ideas, David and Stephanie both really addressed, there are, and you as well, Libby, there are so many resources at BU. So it is trying to figure out, how do you differentiate yourself? Is it you collaborate more deliberately than other organizations? Is it that you offer something different? You offer a new voice? You know, with Sea Green, you offer something that students really crave and want it at a more affordable, convenient price. So the kind of startup terminology for that is like, what makes what you're working on unique, or your unique value proposition. And I know for all of you, it's not like you have an idea and the next day you know what makes you unique, right? It's a constant iteration that people are always doing as individuals and as people who are involved in different organizations. What makes us unique? How do we play to that more? And is that we collaborate better, or we have, you know, the best green products, or that everybody on campus understands the role of student government, so that you're really chipping away into that uniqueness of your solution or idea. So I realize that we're kind of getting towards the end of the formal panel. I do want to kind of share with everyone that a lot of what we were talking about today, there's some vocabulary in like the innovation world, and I hope on our website, which actually maybe we can chat in, there's actually a glossary of terms. And so I want to make sure that these terms feel really accessible. But we really talked about like a hypothesis today. So a hypothesis might be the Black students at the BU campus are not as connected to each other as they could be. Now, how do I actually go ahead and start validating that this is true or not true? Or students at BU aren't satisfied with purchasing through Amazon, but don't know an alternative. Let me validate that that's true or not true. And for student government, students at BU think student government is for people who want to go into politics. No, it's actually more about accessibility issues. And then you're kind of testing that. You're validating that it's true or not true. So you might like know those terms from like 6th grade science, but that is actually how they apply a little bit differently here. And hopefully you learn some of the actual strategies that people use, that these people use, our students use, which were really that customer interviews and then the research process. So what we are going to do right now is actually utilize some of this dialogue into breakout rooms. So let me explain how it's going to work. We have 2 floors. So if you have an idea, we're going to have you go to floor 1, and I'll show you the prompt in a moment. And if you don't have an idea yet, that is also fantastic. And we are going to have you come to floor 2, and we have a set of prompts for that as well. So our panelists and the Build Lab staff will pop around to the tables to see how it's going. And if you're stuck, you can always check in at the Innovate BU info table. We want you to have fun and follow the prompts. So let me show you the prompts. If you have an idea, you know, I would like you to start sharing. The more you can articulate in writing and in words what you're working on and get it out of your head and out into the world, the better. So how do you know that this is a problem? You know, who have you talked to about this problem? And what research have you done? And how would you start to understand and actualize the rubric that we talked about earlier today, that it's desirable, equitable, feasible, and viable? And if you don't have an idea, everything, we didn't really get to this today. We lead a whole nother workshop on pursuing your passion. But what of these topics are you most passionate about? Is it academics? Is it athletics? I'm really sad that athletics aren't going to be going on. Waste reduction, like Blake said earlier, I like picking up trash and I like motivating others to do the same. And I'm not even joking about that. So like, what are you actually passionate about and why? And then once you start to work on that, then you have these why are you passionate about that? What already exists? What interviews could you do, etc. So those are our prompts for the different floors. Blake, do you want to give any directions right now?
Yeah, I'll say that I just put a direct bit.ly in the chat box that'll take you, so you have a copy of those slides and those directions. I really think our panelists did a fabulous job of talking about the idea development process. It starts with an inspirational idea, and then you got to put the work in, you got to collaborate and identify other resources and those gaps to find that value. And what we're asking for in your applications is not a finished, ready to go idea. We want to know at a high level, what are your ideas? And we're here to help. So we've got more workshops that we'll highlight after you come back from the breakout. And we also have programs throughout the year. So whether your idea moves forward through the challenge with funding or not, we're here to help you move those ideas forward with all kinds of resources and programs. And as Rachel mentioned, I'll be at the Innovate BU table. So if you have questions about some of those additional resources, we can answer them today or set up another time to chat. So how it's going to work is I'm going to end the presentation in just a moment. Again, if you have an idea, you're going to go up to floor 2. You'll see those options. It kind of looks like elevator buttons on the left-hand side of the screen. Just click on the 2 and it'll take you to the second floor. Join a table that other people are at, because we want this to be a collaboration. If you don't have an idea yet, feel free to stay on floor 1 and connect with other students. And I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes or so, and you'll see that timer on the top of your screen, and we'll give you some warnings for when we'll be joining back together for that debrief. All right, thank you again, all of our panelists. Rachel, that was a fabulous workshop, and I hope you have really fruitful conversations at your tables.
Thank you. We'll meet back at the end.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. We may have been having some technical issues with our chat box. So actually what I'm going to do is invite our panelists back up to the stage, because you all were networking and hearing and talking directly with students. So I'm curious if you want to take a second to debrief. What did you hear? What are some of the next steps students are discussing with you? What have you discovered through today's event? David, if you unmute yourself, let's hear from you first while we might wait for Stephanie or Libby to join us as well.
Sure. So I heard a lot of good ideas. Thank you to everyone who I talked to. Also, hi everyone. Hope you guys doing well. So some of the things I heard, like in terms of next steps, was one, getting more research and figuring out specifically what's going on at BU, because we currently know like what their overall game plan is, but whether we're freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, like we don't know. Some people don't know like the little intricacies, and we don't know how they plan on doing it. So I think like it's more of like a research phase, like figuring out like, hey, I have this idea, like I think I know how it works. Like, let me like go and like see like, oh, will it work better if I do it like this? Will it work worse if I do it like this? Because now you're gaining like that level of traction in terms of like, it's, you know, the research, the understanding like what's currently being done, so you can figure out how to better do it. Another thing I heard, sorry to keep talking, was from exactly where we are, like figuring out the best way. Like one of the ideas, not to sell anyone's idea, but I was talking to Eliza, and she was mentioning this idea of having like some, because everyone's learning online, so figuring out how to learn online, how to do that better, and how to go from there to like ask students whether they want to like receive a video or to receive like a Zoom or to receive like, you know, what's the best way for students to like learn about how they're going to learn. And I think that was just a really interesting conversation we had.
Great. Libby, why don't you tell us what were some of the things you heard or some of the next steps people plan to take?
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like a lot of people have ideas, but haven't necessarily yet talked to other people about their ideas. So kind of gauging interest outside of the group that they're currently working with, I hear, is a lot of what people's next steps intend to be, as well as kind of further fleshing out what exactly their idea entails.
Great. Always good to talk to people, especially outside of your bubble. You know, we often talk with a lot of people at the Build Lab whose moms love it and their best friends love it, right? But they're not going to give you maybe that critical, honest feedback that really would help you move an idea forward, right? So this is a really great foreshadow for what's happening in the next workshop, right? When it's all about gathering that critical feedback, maybe hearing things that challenge you a little bit and make you think a little bit deeper. Stephanie, what about you? What did you hear?
Yeah, so I'm a bad networker. So I was at a table, like one table for the entire time. We had a great conversation. So we talked about their idea and they asked me a lot of questions about how I process and do things. And I think the next steps for them would be to actually go to the Build Lab and connect with you guys, because their idea was actually for something outside of the student impact track. It was outside of the Charles River campus track. And to connect and think about where they wanted to exactly focus their idea, because they had multiple ways to approach it. And so creating, I told them about the Lean canvas that we did in the innovation pathway, and how to ask the right questions in the customer interview process. So I think that developing those two things are important for their next steps.
Great. So you're already plugging some of our future programming. Rachel, before I have you kind of wrap up this section, I did just want to point out, this is a resource all students will get in the follow-up email. This is our contact list. And this tab right here lists students who indicate their contact information and the categories that they're working on and some details about their ideas. So you can go in and add your information or follow up directly with people that you notice there. And then the second tab that you'll see are actually BU faculty and staff members who have said they are interested and excited to talk with you about your ideas. A number of these folks will be at our session on Tuesday, so you can network with them through the event. But for example, those of you who have questions about diversity and inclusion, Alana Anderson, who's part of the BU D&I office, is really interested in talking with you. And she's an expert in large events, social life. We've got Dean B on here. If you're thinking about a club or organization and need some help, they've included all their emails. So you can email them and say, hey, I'm in the New Normal Challenge. I'm working on an idea and I'd love your feedback. Whether they're at Tuesday's event or just you want to email them directly, they are excited and looking forward to connecting with you and talking with you about your ideas. So I just wanted to plug that resource while we have a moment. Rachel, I'm going to turn it over to you to, I'll continue the slides, but if you want to just, I'm going to pull up our goals and the thank you. So you take it away from here.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's actually something that came up in some of my breakout tables, which is how do I actually do a focus group? How do I move my idea forward? And I really encourage you to utilize the contact form that Blake was just walking through. And I also mentioned that a lot of this is getting out of your comfort zone. And just talking to new people, new ideas, putting yourself out there, kind of flexing a new muscle around, hey, I have an idea, and you might get rejected for it, and you might be turned down. But you know, like any muscle, the more you work it, the stronger it'll get. So I would encourage you to also kind of have that growth mindset, if you will. So I want to give a big thank you to our panelists. And everybody at home is applauding, I'm sure. You all provided really great insight on how to actually get something off the ground and how to go from idea to focus on the problem, to testing it, to execution. And again, these 3 students, I think could definitely make themselves available as a resource to think through, is this really a problem that is a large problem? What do I do next with this idea? And how do I actually take it forward? And it's just a little bit at a time, right? So again, the goals for today, we're talking and learning how to start to vet, test, and iterate on your ideas, how to determine if it's desirable, equitable, feasible, and viable. And hopefully your takeaways are really starting to talk to people, and people maybe a little bit different than your friends, families, somebody outside of your comfort zone, and also look at what already exists and how you could either improve upon that, make it better, collaborate more specifically, more thoughtfully. And that will be helpful as you start to look at that rubric and work on your new normal application. So again, I'm going to turn it back over to Blake. Thank you.
Great, and that was a beautiful plug for our last 2 workshops that we've got. So on Tuesday from 1 to 2:30, the workshop is called the Idea Feedback Session. And we will have students, faculty, and staff experts who will be at tables, and you'll be able to rotate around and get critical feedback on your ideas. So register for that one. And then our last workshop is Tuesday, August 11th. And that's going to be around finishing your applications before that August 15th deadline and thinking about how you're going to market this beyond, right? How are you going to build engagement and awareness of what you're working on? So 2 really helpful workshops that we hope you RSVP and join us for. And then last but not least, these are some important links that Libby will be sending to you in a follow-up email. Details about the website, documents that we used today, the contact sheet, and RSVP links for future workshops. So we hope that you're able to connect. We also have at Innovate BU a Slack channel for our community members. This is a great way to connect not just with people on the New Normal Challenge, but in general, the hundreds of students across campus who work on ideas through our office. We've got a special channel just for New Normal, but this is a great way to connect and engage and build that network. So don't forget about the deadline, midnight, Saturday, August 15th. It is just about 2:30, so we're going to wrap up. You're more than welcome to stay on the first floor and continue networking. And all of my speakers and Build Lab staff, if you can connect with Libby on the second floor for a debrief, that would be much appreciated. Thank you all so much for joining us today, panelists, attendees. I hope it was a really helpful workshop, and we are so excited to continue helping you move these ideas forward. Thank you so much.